Hey guys, it's Paul. So today I wanted to talk about something that I really like in Yu-Gi-Oh! And that's playing and building pure Yu-Gi-Oh! Decks and why I think it's a lot of fun, at least for me personally. Now, I think a pretty important disclaimer to make here is that this is like casual player Paul speaking here. So I have played competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! A fair bit in the past. I've enjoyed it. Sometimes I don't enjoy it. Sometimes I take breaks, whatever. But like, I understand how the competitive mindset works. So this isn't that. This is me kind of more so when I just want to like chill out a bit, enjoy Yu-Gi-Oh! More. It's kind of relevant for me right now because as I've maybe mentioned a bit in the past, I haven't really been like playing lots of Yu-Gi-Oh! Since COVID hit, at least certainly not competitively, a little bit, just around with like other APS members. But yeah, all right, I'm rambling. The point is, I like playing and building pure Yu-Gi-Oh! Decks. And by pure, I just mean I like to play archetypes, and I like to play like those themes and stuff just solo, or as close to that as I can kind of reasonably get them. So, let's start with an example. A fun deck that I've kind of been making recently is Dual Avatar. So this is the one that came in Phantom Rage. It's not a great archetype. It's really not. It's an archetype that it's a couple of warriors, they make fusion monsters and like tokens, and they kind of like swap the monsters like on and off the field with the fusions and stuff. And it's a pretty cool archetype. It's got a neat gimmick. It's nothing special. I'm not even going to pretend it is. It's kind of shit. But the thing is, I enjoy it. I kind of find it fun. And the thing I find the most fun about it is just playing it exactly as, I guess, Konami intended. Yeah, like I'll add staples, I'll add twin twisters, or, something like Pot of Desires or whatever, like draw power, that type of thing. Maybe some trap cards, but like, I don't, I run it as it is. I even like to try to sort of run like the removal cards that the archetype has, or I like to run maybe their themed Monster Reborn cards. Certain like, hand traps or battle trap type things. I like playing decks that way. I find that this is gonna sound cheesy or whatever, but like, for me, it kind of feels like you're role playing a bit, Like when you play a Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck, I kind of like sort of sort of immerse myself into the archetype. It's, I don't know, it's something that's kind of like therapeutic about it. I get to take on the strengths and even the weaknesses that a certain archetype has. So when I was like a teenager or whatever, like the plant support was first coming out with like Akiza and like those cards, I liked playing cards like Polynosis and Wall of Thorns in a plant deck, as opposed to playing, say, Solemn Judgment and Mirror Force instead. Now, part of that was because I was a kid and those cards were pretty expensive at the time. I couldn't afford them even if I wanted to, but more importantly, it was just the fact that like they're plant-based cards, and so like it felt more on theme for me, and it just made me like feel more involved in the process. Even when there's like a better generic alternative, sometimes I just like to play it that way. And there's so many different decks I've been playing like this now. Like, as of late, I've built like Witchcrafters and Rika and Madolche. Madolche is actually one of my favorites because they sort of force you to only play Madolche cards. Thanks to Petting Sasor's effect, for instance, you literally can't do a crazy Needle Fiber combo or a crazy Guard Dragon combo or really combine it with any other archetypes. And for me, that's fun. In Team APS especially, we've kind of been doing this a little bit more lately. It just makes duels more exciting. Alec has built like Spriggans, he's built Plunder Patrol, we've been playing with that. I recently built a Rose Dragon deck, which has been a lot of fun. And I've kind of tried to avoid just turning it into like another Guard Dragon thing with Halqifibrax and like all these cards. I mean, like, I understand the appeal to doing that. If you're trying to push these decks and like win with them in a tournament setting, you need to be probably doing that. You need to combine these decks with different engines, powerful staples, extra deck, generic extra cards. That stuff is important. So this is like scrubby casual me or whatever, the filthy casual who's just trying to kind of like goof around with decks. I'm not saying this is how you should play stuff in tournament, and I'm also not saying that like this is necessarily how Yu-Gi-Oh! Like ought to be. Like, sure, in my ideal world it would be that way, but there's a lot of merit in what competitive players do. Optimizing decks, finding good hybrids. That's all fine. I'm just saying that for myself, I've found a lot more enjoyment in the game recently, just building decks like this. Larry, he's another one. He's a lot like this. He recently built like a vampire deck. He's built an ancient warriors deck, like a Valkyrie deck. Just different things where it's pretty much the pure decks as they are, and we even run the spells and traps that kind of draw them cards, or will their battle traps or whatever things as a means of outing threats, compared to just lightning storm or evenly matched or whatever. It's a weird thing, but I don't know. For me, I like playing Yu-Gi-Oh that way. I guess there's like exceptions. I mean, like I've done sort of hybrid things. Those are fun too. I like, I've mentioned this in the past, I sort of like the engines like Tri-Brigade and Dogmatica that can sort of just combine with stuff, and I usually find that pretty neat. That said, when I combine archetypes, I sort of like to try to combine like similarly themed ones. So for instance, a friend and I were working on like a Rika Aramage sort of hybrid. And it was really more so Rika. It was just using like a couple of Aramage tuners that can, or Aroma, I guess, just Aroma tuners that can summon themselves and like one of the synchros. But I mean, they're both plants. And so I find that's like a fun way to combine decks. I still like to sort of keep a theme to it. I don't know. I feel like for me, that's just like a fun way to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Sometimes I wish that there was like a special format or tier list or side event or whatever have you that like just required you to run decks like pure that way. Like you can't really run like outside engines. I know that's extremely difficult to like enforce and design because like some stuff is more ambiguous as to like, does it belong to an archetype really at all? I don't know. Like, maybe for me, it would be neat to see people actually play Predaplant and not just tech the Predaplant engine. And I know that there's like certain archetypes where that's like almost impossible. Like, I mean, I guess normal summoning Alistair, he is his archetype. Everything else is fusion monsters. So I mean, like, there's exceptions and stuff like that that just seem like these are things designed to go into other decks. But I don't know. I like playing it that way. I like immersing myself in archetypes as they're designed. Even stuff like War Rocks or Mutants. That's another kind of fun recent one. But like even stuff like War Rocks. Like I want to build. I've been thinking about just building a War Rock deck. Just building it, just playing it, just to see. Like I don't know. I mean, yeah, I know it's a meme. War Rocks suck, but like I don't know. I'll build it pure. Especially. Oh, and I guess that's the last thing. When you build pure decks, playing against other pure decks is so much fun. Like when you leave all of the a lot, like the crazy combos that just end up making a Borreload Savage and all that stuff. When you leave those out of it, it's so much more fun. Like playing Tinyi against Dual Avatar, great time. Playing Rose Dragons against like a pure Springens deck, great time. I played against like Larry's Vampire deck, pure vampires against my Armed Dragons. Incredible. It's fun. I love playing Yu-Gi-Oh! That way. Those are usually some of the more balanced matchups. They're usually pretty low octane. No one gets like OTK. There's rarely like just straight up unbreakable boards built completely within one archetype. Doesn't happen too often. And it's fun. And you can, if you really want to have a good time, you can take the hand traps out and all that stuff. Maybe I'm not speaking someone's language here, but stuff like that's neat in a casual setting. Again, this isn't meant for like tournaments or anything like that. It's just maybe like something to enjoy with friends. One last thing too, I've been mentioning how I like using like spells and traps and removal forms, consistency cards and all that for these archetypes. I also do like to stick to just in theme or in archetype boss monsters. That is a really fun thing to do. So instead of just relying on Borreload Savage Dragon or Apollosa or making a Borosword or an Axis Code or whatever to kill my opponent, I like to try to like do it as much as I can with the in-archetype things. With Rika, I'm only summoning teardrops and stuff like that, or just like plant Xyz or just plant link monsters. And I don't know, when I played like Rose Dragons, I actually just played them earlier before I was recording this video. I just tried to kind of win by actually only summoning Black Rose and Ruddy Rose and like a couple of like it's like Synchros, stuff like that. Like I don't want to just do a Guard Dragon combo. It's not for everybody. It's just me sharing a way that I enjoy engaging with this game. It's just a nice break from the action. That's all. Yeah, so what are you guys' favorite pure decks to build? Do you like building pure decks at all? Do you think it's just casual trash and not worth the time? Or maybe there's some merits to it? Anyways, that's enough for me. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Pass turn.